Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of AniBreak, the show where we break down the week's hottest topics in anime, manga, and video games. My name's Jason, and we're going to talk a couple anime-based announcements. A Kickstarter that I've been raving about for a while is going to give you a little bonus if you guys have actually backed it. Also, a couple conventions have made some actually fairly large announcements. And but the majority of this episode, we're going to talk about E3 because we're smack dab in the middle of it. It's started yesterday, it'll end tomorrow. All the major press conferences were on Monday, so I'm sure you were like me and they were just inundated with a ton of just news and trailers and announcements. And my God, my piggy bank is so empty because I want all these games. So I'm sure you're just like me with that. But let's start off with the news. And I've been talking about this Kickstarter for Time of Eve. But you guys remember this. It's a 6-part OVA. You can actually find this online right now. You can find it on Crunchyroll, I believe, streaming. But this Kickstarter is for the movie version, where they actually tied all 6 episodes together. They added some new animations, new dialogue, title, very nice. And they were trying to find a way to bring this stateside. Yeah. When I first talked about it, they were asking for like $18,000. And they got that in the first couple hours. Then they said, well, if we get $50,000, we'll give you guys an English dub. And they got that. So they decided to extend the bonuses. So to just sweeten the pot, if you guys have yet to go ahead and back this, this is actually a worthwhile Kickstarter. I am no way, part of it. I have no say in this whatsoever. I'm just that much of a fan of this project, and especially of this Kickstarter. So if you guys go and pledge, I believe, the $55 level is actually for the Blu-ray. It's a little expensive than you normally pay for a Blu-ray, but it's so worth it. Not only because you're getting the Blu-ray with English and Japanese dub and subtitles, you also get a digital art package, has some really cool stuff on it, but the new bonus is that you'll be able to download Yasuhiro Yoshida's latest or previous works, and we're talking Aquatic Language, and one of the hidden gems from a few years ago, Pale Cocoon. You will get those as a free, legit download if you back this. It's definitely worth it. You can go on to Kickstarter, just search for Time of Eve. Like I stated, they have 9 days to go. When they started, they asked for $18,000. Then they did the $50,000 for the dub. Now they're at $127,135. Almost 2,000 people have backed this. I am definitely one of them, and I hope you guys do the same. It is completely worth it. And now a bonus, you're paying for one anime and you get 3. I think it's a damn good deal. Wasn't too much in terms of anime news this week. Just more so for the fact that I don't think anybody wanted to compete against E3. But there were a few guest announcements by some of the larger conventions. Let's start off with Otakon. Otakon has, up until like a few days ago, the guest lineup to beat. And to be honest, I still think they beat AX. But they actually just stacked the deck even more with the announcement of Chiaki Ishikawa coming to perform at Otakon. Now, the best part about this, she's also going to be performing the opening act for Yoko Kanno's Piano Me concert. So you're getting 2 for the price of free, because it's not, you don't have to pay anything extra for the Yoko Kanno concert. Ishikawa's worked on stuff from, I remember most recently, Kami-sama Dolls. That was a fun one. Mobile Suit Gundam 00 second season. Majestic Prince, I think she did, not the opening, but the ending sequence. She's done a bunch of stuff, and you can go online. She's already created an introduction video. Say, hi, I'm Chiaki. I've done this. Well worth it to check it out. And if you guys are going to Otakon, I am so envious because it's looking less and less that I can make it myself. Not to be outdone, AX, the past few years, they've always gone out and they like the whole quantity over quality, I guess. I mean, granted, their budget is a bit larger than every other convention out there, so they decided, you know what, we're going to try to one up everything we've done so far. And actually was talking to a few of my friends and a couple people who help run AX. Got some this information before it was released, but I waited till it was actually announced. Anime Expo decided to go after like all the heads of production IG. The biggest being the freaking founder of the studio itself, Mitsuhisa Ishikawa. Now, everything that Production IG has done, I have been a fan of. I've been called a fanboy of a few studios, but Production IG being the biggest. I mean, come on. Ghost in the Shell, and of course they're working on Ghost in the Shell Arise. And starting recently, all my doubts about the upcoming 4-part OVA have been just destroyed. It's amazing, and they keep on putting out quality work time and time again. Hell, even their spin-off studio, Wit Studio, is already hitting the ground running with Attack on Titan, and that just looks epic. If you guys haven't been following that series, I highly recommend doing so. So he will be there for Q&A session, probably an autograph session or two. I may have a few things I would like to see him autograph. We shall see. But the other person that they announced, I think, is their final guest. I think this marks 25. I want to say this is 25 guests. Is an illustrator, a character illustrator, Hugh. You might recognize his work from Steins Gate, Black Rock Shooter. Of course, all of his work with Ryo's group Supercell in terms of the character artwork and design for that. So he's actually going to be doing not only a Q&A session, of course, autograph session, but also a live drawing session, which is great to see. I know a lot of designers would love to see this. They watch it on YouTube, but it's great to be able to see the guy draw this live in one of the rooms. That's going to be amazing. Hell, I'm not even an artist, and I'll be sitting there like just transfixed by that. The guy has great taste, and I love his style. So I will say this, that AX ended strong with their guest of honor announcements for this year. Still kind of say Otakon kind of took the brass ring with Yoko Kanno, but it's not like I'm not going to go to AX, so I'll see you guys there in just a couple weeks. Okay. Shall we get to the E3 news? Because there's a ton of it. You know what? Let me go ahead and showcase a trailer from Nintendo before I get to the other big two. And I think one of the biggest announcements they had so far was the announcement of a classic franchise have come back. Well, semi-classic franchise. But we all know it, we all love it, and we all are going to buy this, and probably buy a Wii U so we can play this. This is Super Smash Brothers. Yeah, the new Super Smash Brothers game. It's going to be available on both Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS. Now, while the Wii U will have, of course, HD graphics and much higher in terms of detail and texture, the 3DS version won't have anything less in terms of gameplay mechanics. However, it will the art style is actually going to change. They're going to go from that highly detailed look to more of a cell shaded look, and to be honest, I think the cell shaded look would work very well considering the smaller screen. Even if you're using the 3DS XL, it'll still look great. I love the fact that they brought back, or they're bringing in Mega Man for this game. It's always funny that it seems that everyone besides Capcom that utilizes Mega Man in some form or another handles the character better than Capcom themselves. But that's just me. Also announced recently at E3 was another character, which is the Wii Fit Trainer Girl. I look at that and I go, okay, that's not the most unusual character that has been in a Super Smash Brothers lineup, but still, I'm trying to figure out what her moves are going to be. She's going to have, she's going to have a command where she has all the the Wii balance boards come out and she starts throwing them at characters. That would be hilarious. um, but yeah, so that's coming out. Some other news. This could kind of be going back and forth between several higher ups at Sony regarding Team Ico's long-awaited The Last Guardian. Jack Tretton came out initially and stated, "We have a lot of games under development, but that one is currently on hiatus." Well, then Shuhei Yoshida, the head of Sony's worldwide studios, comes out and says, "No, the game's in active development. It will be out eventually. It's not on hiatus. We're not ready to introduce it, or to reintroduce, I should state." He uses the phrase that I actually enjoy: "We will show it when it is ready." A lot of these companies are now taking the Valve approach, and I'm stoked for that. I mean, yes, development time will be extended, and we'll all be waiting with bated breath. But that extra time hopefully will be used to just make these games just have that extra bit of polish. And you go, "Oh, it was so worth it." That's the phrase I want to say. It was worth the wait. Has this been the case for every game that's taken this path? No. No. But it's still nice that they're taking the time to try to make this work out well. Another company that made that announcement, or a similar announcement, was EA. Out of the blue, "Hey, look, we have a new Mirror's Edge game." And I went, "Yes, thank you." I am such a huge fan of the first game, and I thought it was a sequel. Given the fact that obviously it looked 1,000 times better than the original. The trailer seemed to have a little more of like fighting, more action sequences than the first one. And then it was revealed later on that, oh, this is not a sequel, this is a reboot. I hate that phrase, reboot. But it's a new Mirror's Edge game. I'll take it. But they also did the same thing at the end, which was coming when it's ready. So it's like, oh, okay. So it's going to be I'm guessing 2 or 3 years before we actually see the game. We'll see videos next E3, maybe the following one about it. Maybe it'll be playable in 2015. But I'm hoping we'll get, something sooner rather than later. Speaking of massive developments and not really talking about it much, Square Enix. Square Enix loves to just keep things and just keep them in the background and not say crap for months upon years, and then come out and state, "Hey, you remember that thing we talked about 4 or 5 years ago? We kind of changed it, but it actually is coming out." One that I'm talking about, we've talked about before E3, was Final Fantasy Versus 13. I was wondering where the hell this was gonna come out, and they came out and stated, "You know what? It's going to be coming out, but as Final Fantasy 15. I'm like, okay, that's good. Before I show some gameplay footage, the other big announcement, which I was hooping and hollering for about damn time, was the announcement finally for Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, how many years have we been waiting for this? I'm tired of seeing all the reboots. Hey, look, we have an HD remix of this game. We're going to put it on this system, then this system, then this system, and maybe that system as well. But we'll never announce the 3. For a while, we were all making the joke of Square Enix is almost just as bad as Valve in they do not want to release a game that ends with the number 3. Well, now we can just leave that to just Valve, because now we have Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out for the PS4. If that was any indication of what console you should go for, you should probably consider the PS4, and I'll explain why in a moment. But I definitely want to check out this epic in-game first look at Final Fantasy XV. You know what's funny is that I watched that and I look at it and it looks there's a few scenes that kind of remind me from Final Fantasy VII Advent Children in terms of set design. But as much as I'm going to love playing in terms of, I'm hoping to have an excellent battle mechanics and hopefully a great story, I'm not quite overly thrilled with or blown away by the graphics. I mean, I think it's gotten to that point with the console wars that, PS2 to PS3 or Xbox to Xbox 360, there was a pretty sizable jump in terms of the amount of power and how much they can push on the screen at any given point. And there are still plenty of games on the PS3 that blow my mind in terms of quality. I mean, even games that have yet to come out. I mean, I think The Last of Us comes out this week. Later this year comes Beyond Two Souls for the PS3. Quantic Dream's previous game, like Black Brain or something like that, I can't remember what it was called, was absolutely incredible, and it's using essentially current gen hardware. So when you get to the PS4, I mean, yes, it's going to new architecture, yes, it's going to x86, it's supposed to be all that much more powerful, but then again, I'm not seeing that sizable jump. Let's go into the specs of it. It's a nice segue. Between the Xbox One and the PS4, in terms of specs, just hardware specs, they're essentially built around the same. I mean, they both have 8-core processors, both have 8 gig of memory. I mean, Xbox One is DDR3, PS4 is GDDR5. It's just how it's used. Both have 500 gig hard drives. Both utilize Blu-ray, which is funny because Microsoft has to pay Sony a small bit of money for every Xbox One sold because of that. Both have USB 3.0, gigabit Ethernet. They both will display games at 1080p. Both technically can display 4K content, but I doubt you'll ever see a game on this console that can actually support that. When you look at that, the real winner between the two in terms of just hardware, I gotta say, is AMD, because that's the company that is creating the custom CPUs and video cards for both systems. And essentially the video card for both of them is relatively based off of the HD 7790 card, which is upper middle range cards right now. Like my video card in my CPU in my computer right now blows the quality of that away. I mean, I also have 24 gigs, but the thing is, you look at it and going, okay, well, they have 8 cores. We can utilize 8 cores for the games. Not really. It's they try to hide the fact that, an example of the Xbox One, yeah, it has 8 cores and 8 gigs of RAM, but because they have the 3 OS versions, or basically a single OS, Windows 8, and then of course the gaming virtual machine, it can only allocate so much to the actual gaming part. So the actual gaming part of the Xbox One is 4 cores and 5 gigs of RAM. Now, I mean, that's average for a standard PC nowadays. So, I mean, they're getting to that point that they are becoming more like PCs. Hell, they're on the same architecture now, which is quite nice. It caused massive problems in terms of backwards compatibility, but I think that Sony did it right when they purchased Gaikai and said that they were going to stream PS1, 2, and 3 games via that service. And that makes perfect sense to me. In terms of design, I mean, they're just boxes. They're both boxes. One is slightly larger than the other one. I mean, the Xbox One is larger than the Xbox 360 or the PS3. And it's all rectangles. It's all supposed to be something along the lines of the 16:9 ratio of HD TVs. I'm like, okay, you have HD TVs, that's fine. I don't need to have a version of that on the console itself. The PS4 looks like the PS2 Italic. Although, given the small size of the PS4 console, I'm stoked that there's no power brick, even though the Xbox One will have a power brick again. But given its size and the amount of processing power that's underneath the hood, I'm trying to think, well, what kind of fans can they push in there? And in that small frame, that's server fans. So it has a small, takes up a small amount of room, but when it gets hot, it's going to sound like mini jet engines firing up in that thing. So it's, in terms of design, I think the PS4 wins, but you're still going to hear it regardless. In terms of the controller, I think, honestly, out of the two, I would pick the Xbox One controller. It's just an evolution of the Xbox 360 controller, which in my mind is one of the most comfortable controllers of all time. And it's a natural evolution. They changed a couple things in terms of the rumble pack. It actually works a little better in terms of the triggers. Just little things like that. They made the battery pack integrated, so it's no longer sticking out like a sore thumb. With the DualShock 4, I'm sorry. I look at the PS3 controller that I have right here, and it works fairly well for what it does. But I gotta say, having a touchpad in this area makes no sense to me whatsoever. It would make some sense if you try to copy the Vita and put it on the bottom of it, but I don't know. It's just full of gimmicks for me. So, I mean, I would take the Xbox One controller over that. But then you get into the problem with the cameras. I mean, you looked at the PS4, and yes, it has the PS4i, the upgraded version of the iToy. Dual cameras, it can take pictures in 3D. It'll it'll track your controllers now that it has that PS Move hardware built into it that, let's face it, no one really bought this last generation. So they're going to force people to use it by putting it into the controllers. So, I mean, it's just nothing for that. But with the Kinect 2, as I call it, the new Kinect for the Xbox One, there's the tech-wise, that is a sexy piece of tech. In terms of 1080p camera, it can see in the dark, it can measure up to 6 people simultaneously, higher definition on what they're actually tracking. It can even track your heart rate, for crying out loud. But then we get to the issue of privacy, and that the big issue with that is, in order for the Xbox to be on all the time, or for the Xbox to be accessed all the time via your voice, it has to be on, albeit in a low power state, but it is on, listening to you and possibly watching you all the time. So yeah, now Microsoft claims that, hey, it's not saving anything, it's not streaming anything back to the home cloud, anything like that. But it's kind of hard to believe that when you have a camera and a mic array in a living room connected to the internet, and I don't know, Microsoft, you were the first company to sign up for the that recently revealed Prism project by the NSA. So it's like, yeah, I'll get one. I'll also have to unplug it every time, but oh well. Okay, I'm gonna go through this part because this was a big issue on Monday, where Microsoft came out for the Xbox One press event. And this was the perfect time to address all these privacy concerns and try to explain the reasoning why the system needs to be connected online at least once every 24 hours. Nope. That press event came and went, and nothing, absolutely nothing was said. And Sony saw that, and like any good company with rivals, they jumped at this in a heartbeat. They spent a significant chunk of time during their massive press event in the evening saying, yeah, all disc-based games, for at least the first-party ones, no DRM. You can trade them, you can sell them, you can go to GameStop and get $4 for them. You can give them to your friends, all of that. No DRM on disc-based games. And the place erupted. You don't have to be online to play anything, even under single player. Other bits that they were announcing later on was all the streaming services like Hulu and Crackle and Netflix and all of that. On the Xbox 360, and most likely the same on the Xbox One, if you have a subscription to that, you can't access that unless you have an Xbox Live Gold subscription. With the PS4, that's not an issue. That's all in front of the paywall. Now, granted, they came out and stated all multiplayer now, with the exception of some free-to-play games, will require a PS Plus membership, but they actually lower their prices a little bit. You can go for an annual price of $50, or you can go, if you really want to, which I think is the dumbest idea ever, is to go month to month. Because you can go $50 a year, or you can go $10 a month and pay more than double. Each to each their own. It's a minor setback, but I think with the amount of years people have been paying for Xbox Live, I don't think they're going to be too vexed about this. Okay, now here's the reason why Microsoft went the path they did. And after doing research on this, I can understand exactly where they're coming from. And given the fact this console cycle is going to be at least 10 years, it might start making sense near the end of that 10 years. Essentially, Xbox One is trying to copy Apple and Steam with their system-wide DRM. All games offered will be available on disc, but also directly via digital download. You will never have to go to GameStop or any retail store to buy your games for the Xbox One if you see fit. If you want to go that way, cool. If you want to have the discs, fine. The disc games, like if you buy a PC game that has to be activated on Steam, will include a one-time key that you will activate once you install the disc. And of course, you have to install the games on the 500 gig hard drive. You can play any of your games that's attached to your account on any other Xbox One system. So if you have a game and you want to show it off to your friend, you can go over to his house. Instead of bringing your console, just go to his house, log into your account, and play right there. Right where you left off, because everything's cloud-based. They have this vague thing where up to 10 family members, friends, family, co-host, whatever, can actually play games on your account on their own systems. Now, that's limited to one person at a time, but say you're at home and your friend wants to play a game you're playing, like co-op or head-to-head, that counts as one. So they can actually play the game with you without having to pay for it themselves. That's kind of a cool thing there. It allows people to try out the games a lot more. You can buy, sell, trade games and whatnot, but it has to be at participating retailers. So basically, say GameStop. GameStop has to sign up with Microsoft saying that, yes, we're going to agree to your terms saying that we are going to trade these games at said price. That's the part I don't like. You know how bad GameStop kind of screws you over saying, I bought this game for $60, and 2 months later it's worth $9. That may change. Microsoft may agree with that path and say it's going to be $9 for that and then trade it in or resell for like $30. But it could also mean that Microsoft says, okay, we'll let you do that, and you have to give us a cut for us and the publisher and the developer. So you may see used games or value drop significantly, or the used prices skyrocket. Now, we already know the games themselves, brand new, are going to be around the $60 range. So thankfully, that's not going up. So something's got to give, and we'll find out in November how that's going to work out. So if you take out the discs, the disc-based games, Xbox Live has essentially become Steam. And I'm all fine with that. I love Steam on my PC. I have a huge array of games that I have in my library. I don't have them all downloaded right now, but when I want to play a game, I just download it. It takes a little bit of time, and I play it. No big deal whatsoever. The other reason why I love Steam is because they have the insane deals. Now, for Microsoft to make this work, they're going to have to copy that model eventually. But I'm foreseeing that because it's going to be a 10-year console cycle, as we get closer to that 10-year mark, you're going to see more and more people move away from buying the games physically. That's eventually going to be the death of GameStop. We all know it's an inevitability. But I think with that progression that Microsoft has the right idea. They're just doing it, 5 years too early. But that's just my idea. Neko Samurai, yes, Sony did go ninja on Microsoft during the press conference, so. And I have to give them massive props for that instructional video on how to share PS4 games with friends. It was completely improvisational. They were not planning. It was actually created, I think, the day before while they were in the green room before their press event. And you guys can go find it online. It's like 30 seconds long. It's absolutely hilarious. And by the end of the first day, it had like 4.8 million views. It probably has closer to 7 by now. I would not be surprised. But if you guys are one of those people that want to keep on disc-based games, you're going to want to go for the PS4. Now, granted, all that DRM stuff can be implemented on the PS4 by third-party publishers, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. But if you're interested in going strictly digital, you can go either way. I mean, they're both going to offer digital downloads on most, if not all, of their games. I will say this. I do like what the Xbox One does in terms of controlling your living room environment with your voice. I do like that feature, not with the implications that come with it. So if I had to choose between one of these right now, I'm going PS4. 100% I'm going PS4. Just because a lot of the titles that are going to be released on the Xbox One will be eventually released on PC. The two that come to mind, Titanfall, which looks epic, and the surprise of all, which was Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. That's initially going to be on the Xbox One, then Xbox 360, but later on it will be available for PC. So why shall I buy the Xbox One? Oh, I know, Halo. But it'll take a few years before I turn around and buy an Xbox One. PS4, I will buy that if I can day and date of release. But that's just me. But the clear winner of all this, I gotta say, it's gotta be Steam. PC gaming has all these pros and blows away everything that these consoles can possibly achieve. I mean, my current PC right now will blow away anything that the PS4 or the Xbox One could ever bring graphically. And I'm more comfortable and more accurate with the keyboard and mouse. So unless they allow me to use keyboard and mouse without hacking it, yeah. Now, the only other console I have to get right now would have to be a Wii U. Just because I want the nostalgia. I want those old Nintendo games. And yes, I'm a Nintendo fanboy. Deal with it. But that's enough of my ranting. That's why I wanted to talk about with E3 and the Xbox One and the PS4 and all the craziness that happened in the past 48 hours because of that. Now, to end with an interesting bit, I'm not sure how this is going to work out because we've talked about it last week. That Sega has finally announced that Project Diva F is coming stateside for the PS3. Now, to get people hyped up for it, as of yesterday, they decided to release something. Oh, I don't know, like the demo. And I finally downloaded it, and you know what? I haven't played this yet, but I'm maybe a complete fool. Let's see if we can play this real quick as our final bit for AniBreak tonight. This may be fail. This will be fail on my half. But let's see what happens. I have this on my PS3 now. Now, I've only seen other people play any of the Project Diva games, and I think they're very enjoyable, even though I haven't played it myself. This is going to be interesting. So, we have Weekender Girl, Dengaku, and World's End Dance Hall. Now, we'll go normal Weekender Girl. Why not? I'm gonna fail. Let's see what happens. Play this game with a song? Yes. Now, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, so we'll see what happens. Star icons are a cinch. Okay. And you can download this too, so. Hey, you know what I figured out? There's a massive delay between the PS3 and my capture card. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna try that again after I deal with the lag issue in a little bit. Hey, at least I don't have to cut that out in the show now because I used less than 30 seconds of the music, so it works out well. But I think that's going to be it for this episode of AniBreak. It started off great. We went full steam into E3. We had a couple announcements from AX and Otakon. That Kickstarter is amazing. You guys need to check that out. Just do a search for Time of Eve. And then, of course, we ended up massive fail. But then again, that's what Jason is. Massive fail when it comes to doing stuff live. So Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of AniBreak. Stay tuned for post-show. And yeah, for AniBreak, I'm Jason. Thank you so much, guys. You take it easy. Have a great week.